Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to all present here. Generative AI has taken the world by storm, revolutionizing the ways of work, communication, and innovation. ChatGPT, with its 100 million users, stands as a testament to the rapid adoption and widespread impact of this cutting-edge technology. This new wave of change in the future of work has the potential to add $1,000 billion US by 2035. Today's CII Global Knowledge Summit 2023 will deliberate and highlight the way forward for generative AI to empower and foster knowledge management in organizations. To kickstart today's summit, we have the welcome remarks by Mr. Vijay Krishnan Venkateshan, Chairman, CII Karnataka State Council 2324 and Managing Director of Kenametal Limited. Vijay Krishnan Venkateshan is the MD of Kenametal India Limited since September 2020. The company is an Indian subsidiary of Kenametal Incorporated, a US-based multinational and industrial technology leader in material science, tooling, and wear-resistant solutions for customers across the aerospace, earthworks, energy, general engineering, and transportation industries. He spearheads the infrastructure business of Kenametal Incorporated for the APAC region, in addition to his role as the MD of KIL. He has led several change management and organizational development initiatives to excel in the competitive business environment with strong focus on customers and promoting growth and sustainability. In his current role, he is leading efforts to drive growth for Kenametal in India and create value for its stakeholders through manufacturing excellence, financial prudence, and enhancing environment, social, and governance standards for the company. Vijay Krishnan is a graduate of Madras University with a degree in mechanical engineering and an MBA with specialization in marketing. Apart from his leadership roles, Vijay Krishnan is an executive committee member of Indian Machine Tools Manufacturers Association. He is also the convener of Environment and Sustainability Panel, CII Karnataka, and part of the State Council. I invite you to do the welcome remarks.
Good morning. We can't have a better time to deliberate and discuss on a topic which seems to be getting the fancy of just not the technocrats, I can see many of them out here, but also the media, which has gone a lot of frenzy. You hit Google on that, it's becoming multi-million output in terms of topics to read. So I was trying to read. I'm not a technology person, I'm more a manufacturing person and a brand marketing person. So I knew the list of speakers who were there in the morning, and I thought that let me sound a little intelligent, so I was trying to read a little bit, but I got lost. With that, probably let me first welcome the dignitaries on the dais. Dr. Raman Reddy, sir, thanks for taking the time to be here. We welcome you. Thank you. Mr. Vishal Dupar, Managing Director, South Asia NVIDIA Graphics Private Limited. We have our Chairman for the Global Knowledge Summit, Dr. Gopi Chand, who has been championing this effort over many years in Karnataka. We have Mr. Pradeep, an artist. We are all looking forward to hear him in terms of his thoughts on this topic. And we have Rabindra, the co-convener for the IT and BT panel for CA Karnataka this year. So I'll give you, I just have 5 minutes, so I'll just share a few perspectives, what we see on the other side when we talk about generative AI as well as knowledge management. When I look at the power of what a generative AI can do to various sectors, what we look at, be it the first thing which comes is how it's going to advance innovation and how it's going to advance science. Because the way I thought about when I was reading about generative AI is it's just a next level of evolution for human race. It's going to just power thought process. It's going to speed up the process of innovation. It's going to speed up research, especially in the area of science. So a lot of people, we do use the famous chat GPT, but I'm just going beyond the capabilities what a technology like this will bring to each sphere of what we operate, especially in the area of science, because that's something which I can relate to very well. Be it healthcare, in terms of solving some of the problems today we have not been able to solve, because just that processing speed and what it can do to support some of the research of some of the best minds in the world, it's just going to be a shot in the arm for most of the research scientists around the world. Be it space research, once again an area which a generative AI is going to build several layers of speed, accuracy, as well as capabilities to what today we are trying to achieve. Be it in terms of climate change action, once again the generative power, for example, drought, how do you solve water imbalance in the world? A lot of areas which are having a big social impact is something which we can solve with the help of generative AI and knowledge management, which is great. All right, it's just going to add layer. I'm not giving the perspective of the technology side. There are enough speakers today who will definitely contribute to these deliberations on how the technology and the core technology aspects of this topic. But for how does it impact a common man is what we need to see. Does it benefit? There are two sides. There's a huge benefit, as I spoke, in terms of sectors which will impact day-to-day life and improve the quality of life for each one of us. While we talk about that, we also do read quite a bit, which is, I think, quite expressed eloquently, the risks of generative AI, because it's evolving at a pace which is sometimes way too fast, and we need to understand that how the pace how it will impact. So obviously the need for the compliance of this whole framework becomes extremely important. And also, how do we understand what are the pitfalls and make sure that the usage of such powerful technology is put into the right direction? So the whole aspect of governance comes into place, and governance is going to play a very critical piece of as we evolve and translate as a human race to adapt to the generative AI. The other piece which becomes important when we look at the impact which such technologies can bring in is on the socio-economic factors of any nation or the world as a whole, which is again an important factor what we need to look at. What happens to today's employment? Will it replace, or reskilling would be needed? And if reskilling is needed, what needs to be done at a country, at a national level, at a state level? Because we don't want to get into a crisis of mismatched skills to what jobs are there and unemployment versus employment. So these are bigger issues which will come to the forefront as the whole world evolves into this generative AI space. I'm sure that today's speakers are going to cover details, just not in the space of technology and what it does in terms of the benefits what we see, but also how we will be able to guide this technology in the right path to benefit the human society. It should be an added advantage to us rather than we talking about a lot about how it can be disruptive in a negative sense. So with that, I'm going to welcome the next speakers, and also looking forward to a enriching day of deliberations on such a important topic which is more current and very important for the world today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Krishnan. To set the context for today's summit, we have Dr. Gopichand Katragadda, CEO and founder, Mylene Foundry. Dr. Gopichand Katragadda is the founder and CEO of Mylene Foundry, an artificial intelligence company with a vision to transform human experiences and industry outcomes. He's an independent director of Bosch India Limited and ICICI Securities. He's also the deputy president of the IIT Board of Trustees UK and a member of the NASSCOM Governing Council for the Center of Excellence for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. Till January 2019, Gopi was the group's chief technology officer and innovation head of Tata Sons. At Tata Sons, he facilitated the development of pioneering products and services, strategic technology collaboration, and innovation across the $100 billion Tata Group. Previously, as the chairman and MD of GE India Technology Center, he helped grow GE's largest R&D center, the John F. Welch Technology Center, to be amongst the world's leaders in intellectual property generation. Gopi is the past chairman of the CII National Technology Committee and the CII Western Region Innovation Task Force. He is the GE certified Six Sigma Master Black Belt. Gopi helped establish the Advanced Materials Center of Excellence at IIT Madras and the Advanced Manufacturing Center of Excellence at IIT Kharagpur. He has framed the CII Tata Communications Digital Transformation Center of Excellence. Gopi also set up and managed the ongoing Tata research collaborations with Harvard and Yale. Gopi has authored a book on innovation titled Smash, currently in its second edition. He has over 30 journal publications, 5 patents, several invited presentations and citations of his research work. He holds a BE in Electronics Engineering from Bangalore University and MS PhD degrees in Electrical Engineering from the Iowa State University. So over to you, Gopi, to set today's contest.
Thank you, Molly. It's a pleasure being here. Last few years, we've held this conference. We've held this conference in difficult circumstances, starting with the pandemic itself, in the midst of the pandemic. So the themes that we picked for the conference have equally been matching what we were going through. So we started off talking about AI and knowledge. Then we also spent some time deliberating hybrid workspaces and knowledge. Last year we talked about metaverse and knowledge. It looks like we have been picking the right topics because the announcements which follow the next year seem to match what we discussed the previous year. Not that we are taking the credit for it, but maybe we should. Today, I really am very happy that we have this inaugural session attended by all the folks who have been supporting us staunchly throughout these many years. Dr. Ramana Reddy, he could be at many places today, but by choice he's here with us. He's the Additional Chief Secretary, Department of IT/BT, and there are many invitations that he can attend to, but he's staunchly always believed in technology, he's believed in innovation, he's believed in the power of knowledge and the power of Karnataka being the seat of disseminating the developments in this space. Vishal, again, NVIDIA has had many announcements in the recent past, including the Grace Hopper, which is recently launched compute from NVIDIA, which is more tuned for generative AI. Of course, it can do other stuff also. So there's much happening at NVIDIA. I'm glad that he's here to present what is happening in his world and beyond. And again, Vijay, as the chairman of CII Karnataka State Council, he has many pulls, but he pushes himself to be here. Again, thank you for being here. And along with Rabindra, there are many other committee members who have contributed extensively. If you can please stand up, I would like to applaud your efforts. Ritu, Ved, Molly, others, please stand up. Rabindra, if you don't mind. Yeah, please stand. Yeah, Varun. Thank you for your efforts and energy in keeping this conference going. Today, standing here, it feels to me like it's back in 1990. I left Indian shores and reached the US. That was the year when the World Wide Web was launched. A year later, 1991, the first website was launched. Those were heady years where we were so thrilled and enthralled with the vast ocean of knowledge that we could explore. Initially, it was all hyperlinks and the ability to reach into various universities and look at their research. For a boy who went to the City Central Library in Bangalore, and hunted down books who couldn't find the right books in the college library. This was a vast new world, and every year we saw advances. Hotmail came and the ability to connect to each other, and every year we had things happening, Google, Amazon. And the decade of 1990 was a decade to be in and grow from a technologist standpoint. Today, this year, 2023, it's packed the entire decade into 1 year. We have seen the number of announcements around generative AI, just amazing. It started off late last year, but it keeps growing. And it's not just about large language models and the ability to produce text. You can critique work, of course. You can generate new ideas. Of course, I also can make mistakes using the tools like was mentioned before. I'll give you an example. I asked it to do a prior art search on a particular idea that I had, and it gave me both the journal publications and patents in the prior art. And I sent it onward to someone who knew better to look at the patent numbers and look at the titles. Neither existed. Right? Sometimes the patent numbers existed, but those were linked to patents which were in a totally different field. So this is what is being called these days as hallucination. Of course, hallucination we all go through, but the fact that even machines go through was new to me. But the point is that if you look at the abstract of these false patents, you could possibly take those and build on that and actually create a new patent which did not exist. That's not the intended use of ChatGPT, but that's possible. In this conference, we had already a session, a masterclass on generative AI. We covered many tools, including ChatGPT. We covered Midjourney. We also covered Adobe Firefly. And we talked about how we got where we got, including the journey AI has taken from 1990. So my PhD dissertation, master's thesis were both electromagnetic sensors with AI. And that journey from there till where we are today has been interesting. But this all didn't happen suddenly. It's built on a solid base. So it is not that you cannot trust the technology behind it, but it is intended to be different than, let's say, querying a database and getting precise information. It's not designed for getting precise information. And hence, if I ask it for prior art, it's not designed to go into Google Patents and pick out certain information. Today, if you ask it for prior art, it'll say, unfortunately, an AI tool which cannot do that. However, you can yourself go and use these tools to get there. So we talked about even the creative aspect. So we do have Pradeep, who has joined us as an artist, and I think that adds great value to the inaugural panel. In talking about art, creativity, do we use generative AI or do we fight generative AI? And I know that he has got opinions on that, and we welcome the opinions on how artists will look at the future. And today we have set together an agenda which I think is very useful. We'll start off immediately after this session talking about generative AI and its impact on knowledge management. Ved will be leading that discussion along with a fantastic set of panel. We will have Ron Young, who will give a keynote address on a similar topic. And we will then move on to discussing legal and ethical aspects of generative AI. It's very critical to talk about topics like copyright. So what is copyrighted is the work produced by Midjourney, which is fantastic works of art. Are they your copyright or are they not? How about the work which went into the Midjourney as an input? You can give a painting of the most famous artist and say, make a painting like this, but it depicts this conference. And so how about the painting which went in? Are you allowed to use it? Japan has taken a lead and said that any input into the generative AI process, whether copyrighted or not, will not be considered a copyright violation because you are not using that image. That's a very aggressive stance. What other countries will do remains to be seen. We'll have a keynote address after lunch on the role of generative AI and transforming knowledge management in enterprises. So the applications are across, but in enterprises, there will be a special interest for this audience. And we'll be doing demo and discussion on generative AI use cases, opportunities, and challenges. So if Molly is the voice of this conference, Madan is the pen of this conference. So he will not only drive the discussions, I'm sure he'll write wonderful articles after that. We'll talk about the future of work with generative AI. And Vijay talked about our jobs going to change. Of course, they are going to change. Do we need to reskill? Of course, we are going to reskill. I knew that he wanted to say that, but he left it for others to actually discuss that. But I think that will be the tone of discussion. So Padma will be leading this discussion. I forgot to mention the legal and ethical aspects of GAI will be led by Ritu. Also, there will be a keynote address which is going to be done by Sandeep, which is the transforming knowledge management in enterprises. After that, we will be talking about collaborating for AI strategies. This will be led by Rabindra. That will be the closing session. We will definitely ensure that we have a good summary of all the discussions through the day. I'm sure you will agree with me that we have a fantastic day ahead. 2023 is going to be a landmark year, and I hope that it will be all packed into this year so that we can continue the next few years leveraging what we have developed in this year. Please again join me in welcoming the inaugural panel as well as the speakers to follow. Some energy, please. Thank you. Molly.
Thank you, Gopi. 2023 is going to be our year. Yeah. We have a special address by Mr. Vishal Dupar, Managing Director, Asia South at NVIDIA Graphics Private Limited. Mr. Dupar has 30 years professional experience in the information and communication technology industry. Vishal has managed and led companies to a leadership position across diverse businesses, namely servers, graphics, engineering design, security, networking, and data storage. Vishal has to his credit the success of DCM, Digital Equipment, SGI, Autodesk, Sun Microsystems, Symantec, and now NVIDIA in India. Vishal has driven strategic business growth in the marketplace for the organizations and successfully steered teams towards the achievement of targets and high levels of customer satisfaction. Over to you, Mr. Vishal Dupar.
So good morning. Looks like energy requires a little bit of upliftment. And I've been wondering what I'm doing here, because I come from the technology world, but I'm not a technologist. And the best way to make up for that was, I told my colleague here, why don't you play a video? It would be a good way to tee off. So let's see a couple of videos which are demonstrations of various technologies that were applied over a period of time.
Hey Jen, how are you?
Unfortunately, not so good.
How come?
I'm worried about the crime around here. It's gotten bad lately. My ramen shop got caught in the crossfire.
Can I help?
If you want to do something about this, I have heard rumors that the powerful crime lord Kuman Aoki is causing all sorts of chaos in the city. He may be the root of this violence.
I'll talk to him. Where can I find him?
I have heard he hangs out in the underground fight clubs on the city's east side. Try there.
Okay, I'll go.
Be careful, Kai.
Well, that is our future. And I say this, and let me be more explicit. The first video that you saw was about rendering from 3D models. And anybody like Ravindra, and I know Sandeep is here, they would tell you that it takes hours and hours to render any image. Even an image of that size can take you 2 hours. 5 years back, with the work that was done in research, a new rendering technology was found called ray tracing. It follows the light, the path, and it basically talks about the connection with all the objects in the scene. And as a result of that, in the second video, you saw that it was already brought down to 15 seconds. So 2 hours to 15 seconds. How did it happen? It happened because of an algorithm called ray tracing and accelerated computing. But there was another thing in the second video, because the second video looked to you almost real time. And that was the infusion of AI inside it. Thanks to AI working with ray tracing, now you could predict 7 additional pixels for every pixel that was rendered. Think about it, imagine it, that you're doing one thing and 7 other things can happen simultaneously, how much energy you can save. Now the rendering was a consistent thing in all the 3 videos, and so was AI in the second and the third one. But in the third one, you saw characters coming to life, the digital avatars coming to life, and here was a uniqueness. There was no script that was given to it. It was just a backstory. And what you saw inside that was also the animation to the face and your gesture as the person spoke. It wasn't again a 3D model, but it was brought to life thanks to AI. And that's why I say this is the future, the way we work, the way we play, and the way we're going to be learning. Let's go a little bit deeper into it and see what really is happening. Now I'm showing you a very old computer. This computer is before I was born. But many people know about this computer to date is the S360. This is the computer architecture which is profound and is being used till date. Many of you may not recollect this, but this was the first computer that introduced the concept of a specialized processor called the CPU. The CPU allowed you to calculate the program and run it. It was the first computer that brought in the concept of virtual memory, and you could apply memory beyond that application. It was the first computer that really introduced expandable I/O so that your devices never went out of their way, and you could now add that. It was a landmark computing architecture that is even applied today. 60 years in running, applied today. Yes, IBM made a lot of money on this, but this is the architecture we apply. This is embedded subconsciously in everybody's mind. And every time you have a procurement that comes in, you don't even think about it. Consciously, you just go and apply it. Unfortunately, we are into 2 different transitions simultaneously happening for us. First, the performance of CPU, which used to provide us double the performance every 2 years or 10 times the performance every 5 years, because of its physical limits, has come to a dead end. Everything that we did in data centers and we were never spoken about from power consumption perspective is gone. And the way forward is another computing architecture which has been in a build-up for last 30 years called accelerated computing, and has come at a real time when computing need was maximum, especially when we started talking about AI. And people got a feel of it moment ChatGPT came. Now suddenly the class 4 student could also tell you how AI is touched. But AI Big Bang really started 10 years back. And AI is information pretty much from the time we were pursuing computer science. Now, the accelerated computing is a different form of computing. It's not the general purpose computing. It has a challenge. Its challenge is that you've got to rethink completely top down and bottoms up everything from the chip to the interconnect to the system software and all the way to the application. You've got to rephrase it. The second thing that accelerated computing is about is a data center. So today the data center is your compute unit, not the personal computer, not your mobile phone. The applications run all across, and that's how the applications have to be seen, that what is the unit of compute, and that is the data center. The third thing is accelerated computing is multimodal. If you look at from a science perspective, the compute of biology and its stack is very different than the stack that you will put for computational fluid. The computational fluid is about simulating the fluid, while biology is about managing the data sets. And with this is this new formation called the generative AI, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But what really happens is that computer architectures are extremely difficult to happen. And Molly did say that I spent about 35 odd years in this industry. I've seen many architectures fail. And the reason why they fail is because of the developers. Now, developers only write software if end users demand it, and their work is going to sustain exactly the way S360 showed us, that you've got to preserve the work of software throughout your lifetime. And this is the work, ladies and gentlemen, that is being done for last 30 years, building domain after domain, lots of software so that you can utilize your data center. A hotel Taj West End is only good if it's being used, and therefore we got to look at it from that lens, even for computing. Now, in final analysis, whichever way you look at it, mainframes, client servers, PC, mobile phones, at the end of it, it gets driven down to price. What is the total cost of ownership? And let me quickly display to you what is the total cost of ownership. If you were to look at it, I'm not sure how many of you can read it, but there are 4 parameters there. When you look at a data center, your data center will look typically like this. Assume everything that you put into it to purchase a big compute farm in the data center, all the power that you're going to expose, the life cycle of the entire system, more importantly, the software part, and let's assume you spend $10 million. It shows that with $10 million, you'll approximately get close to 1,000 servers built on CPUs. You'll probably end up using 11 gigawatts per hour of power, and you will be only able to do one single large language model. Okay? One single large language model. So let's try and pivot it to something. Let's call it the ISO budget. That you had $10 million, you want to spend it. Is there a better way to spend it? If you did that, you will only get 48 GPU-based servers. Much smaller than 1,000, right? And that's why a lot of people make this noise that, oh, the GPUs are very expensive, treated like gold, only if I'm going for a special party, use it. But you get 48 of them, and it's 44 times the performance. So now do quick maths. What did you get more for the $10 million? And then, more importantly, you do it at 1/3 the power. Okay, if you didn't get it, this is what you would do traditionally, and this is what you will do today. There's another way to look at it. Let's say we decide that we want to get our work done. I don't care about anything, ISO budget, ISO power, I don't consider anything. I want to get my job done. I have one language model. I want to basically do this. If you were to understand the merits of this architecture, this is what you're going to get. Against 10 million at 400K, you can buy 2 servers and it can run your single large language model. Now, many of you are entrepreneurs here. Your financial acumen will tell you this is the way forward, and everything that you had heard about, expensive, very specialized, doesn't work, has reached a stage where it's at a tipping point exactly at the same time when we are talking about generative AI. This is a story. 2012, we called it the Big Bang of AI. Jeff Hinton and his 2 students, Alice Krasnowski, Elias Satkiva. Elias then went on to become a founder of OpenAI. That's where you got ChatGPT. They figured out that there's a new way to interact with the computer. They figured out that if we basically expose huge amount of our domain experience, which is the data, you can understand the structure, the pattern, and you can connect those together, and it can scale through the entire data set. And you can allow your software engineers to augment their work and write that software that no human can write. And the computer can then start writing software along with your software engineer. In final analysis, that's what they did. Till Elias said that if this can happen, can it really generate the new content? What started off as the AlexNet, and you can see the parameters, by the time Palm has come in, which was introduced a couple of months back, you can see the impact. Now think about it for a second. In the traditional approach, you were growing computing needs by 10 times in 5 years. In 10 years space, you're talking about an increase of compute needs by 5,000 times. So can you imagine how much of cost you would have left on the table, and how this is not going to be possible if we continue to do it in the traditional approach? Now, I know that you all have gone through many sessions on generative AI, so I'm not here to tell you what generative AI is. But what I'm able to tell you, thanks to Transformer, the capabilities that are embedded in accelerated computing, now you can scale through the entire corpus that's on internet and train a model that can not only understand the structure of what you're exposing to, but can also understand the structures in an adjoining field. So if you have a field of text, you can understand image and you can translate it back. Not only text and image, but you can also do it in proteins, you can do it in DNA, you could do it for chemicals. Anything that has a structure, you can understand the language. And once you understand the language, you can transpond through a carrier, which is called the prompt, by guiding it from one knowledge base to the second knowledge base. So if I want to basically do genome sequencing, I can text it by bringing that knowledge, summarizing it correctly, and despite the fact that a lot of people are talking about, hey, here are the gaps, those are conversations that will happen on daily basis. It'll happen till you find productivity. So ladies and gentlemen, we are at a stage where knowledge can be produced, and anything that is produced in factories. We call these data centers. And in data centers, you create conditions for your offices, for your employees, by understanding this strategy. Once you've understood the strategy, then the conditions are good enough to create more and more knowledge and be more and more productive. At the essence of it is, this is the future where I started off from. This is the future of our work. This is the future of our play. This is the future of our learning. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a really good period of time. Let's take full advantage of it. Thank you.
Accelerated computing is sustainable computing. knowledge can be created in factories. Thank you, Mr. Vishal Dupa. To give us a perspective from the world of art, we have with us Mr. Pradeep Kambathalli. Mr. Pradeep is a graduate of Fine Arts Sculpture from the Karnataka Chitrakala Parishad. He's done his advanced training in ceramics and terracotta from RTDC, a bridge course in art history from the Department of Art History, Faculty of Fine Arts, MS University. He's done several group shows, actor group shows at Avani Art Initiative, Here and There, Yahan Wahan, Inbox, Setu Samudram, Sri Lanka plus India, group show at Divayo Art Cafe, Cross Border Constellation, Fragments, Mountains, Myths and Metaphors, and many more. Conducted several workshops and is a visiting faculty at a few of the institutes. He is the visiting faculty at NIFT Bengaluru, faculty at Parikrama Foundation. He's been a faculty at SJB School of Architecture and Planning, Oxford University of Medical Sciences, Rangayana, Dayanand Sagar College of Architecture and Planning, a visiting faculty at NIFT Bengaluru, CMR School of Architecture. He's conducted a workshop for NASA and a visiting faculty at NIFT Chennai. To hear your perspective, over to you, Mr. Pradeep.
Hello all. I see many people today who are part of an industry which I use but I don't know much about. So I thought I will be a voice today from an industry which is an integral part of our social concerns. And as an artist, what kind of negotiations like I or the industry faces when it comes to the generative artificial intelligence and its advance today. So I would want to contextualize my talk today because I term it as a voice of art practitioner. So this is why I call it the negotiating art practice in the context of generative AI. So I have a small text prepared and I will read out certain things from it. And I will be talking about certain analogies and certain contexts which art production actually uses in today's contemporary art. So, yeah. Art has an interesting role to play in shaping our civilization and our identity. It has given us a nuanced way of looking at our interventions in the context of culture, aesthetics, technology, and history. It helps in defining the way in which we perceive notions about ourselves and where we are heading as a society in this ever-changing flux of our meta-modern situations. To put this into a specific context in the contemporary scenario, I will be contextualizing our negotiations with the philosophy and the view of life that corresponds to the digitized post-industrial global age. So let me also talk about what exactly is art and let me build you a context of how art production happens. The terminology of art has broad context and numerous adaptations which have through time brought a sense of logical discipline and formalized the applications of technology since Industrial Revolution. The design of everyday things in fact is dictated by innumerable developments in art, aesthetics, design history, and in today's context has helped us achieve a next level interaction with an enhanced way to experience our present reality, which runs in parallel with an emerging virtual and augmented reality scenarios. In today's context, explaining what exactly is art becomes problematic. It is because the lexicon of art is associated with many kinds of practices and is usually used to denote a pinnacle or a zenith in many kinds of varied art practices. But many of us do understand and relate to the common statement that is art for art's sake. We artists who practice a nuanced form of fine arts are usually confronted with another statement, art with a capital A, which usually refers to a Puritanian form of an explorative art practice which usually stems from within the confines of an established gallery system, enjoying patronage from museums, academia, and private collectors. It is from this systemic situation which I come from and relate to, where I have shaped an identity for myself as an artist through dwelling within this culture industry which constantly negotiates, adapts, and has evolved along with time, striving for relevance from within our human conditions. There is a very interesting song by Bob Dylan, Times They Are A-Changing. This becomes very relevant analogy for what I'm about to contextualize in terms of art practice and the emergence of artificial intelligence. When I was an art student, this song by Bob Dylan represented the angst of a generation to me, as it stood as an ode or an anthem to those new times to come. Looking back towards it in retrospective, I can connect various dots of technological developments which have empowered artists to explore different mediatic possibilities in the representational narratives. But the emergence of generative artificial intelligence has in fact created a mixed response from the artist community. Since this technology is so new and has emerged amongst us so fast, it becomes extremely challenging to sum up the responses from within the artist community and academia. To analyze this context, the approaches one has to consider is so multifaceted that it requires a lot of time to observe and understand the impact that this technology will have and change the way in which we think, adapt, and evolve in the near future. If we can summarize art to be a reflection from within a society's conscience, we will also have to look at how it has evolved along with the idea of our society's culture industries. It is in this juncture that I would like to point out that art has always embraced new possibilities which helped in enhancing representation and new technologies which helped in spreading the reach of these narratives. The advent of photography and its advancement in the late 19th century posed a similar challenge to the artists. But fine art has then evolved from a realistic representation which bordered on skill and craft to a more nuanced way of looking at the changing world, creating new movements such as 1. Post-Impressionism, which was an attempt to represent or capture time through changing light. 2. Dadaism, which documented the satirical, intellectual, and absurdist experimentations of post-war situations. 3. Surrealism, which was inspired from the emerging developments in psychoanalysis, the fascination with the unconscious, interpretations of dreams, fantasy, and mystery. 4. Cubism, which tried to relook at the understanding of an image through shapes and forms, and its further exploration towards its deconstruction. 5. Abstraction, where art dwelled within non-representation, raw emotions, rejection of dimensions, and a celebration of geometrical flatness. All this has happened in continuum, but the origins of this radical shift in representation can be traced to the advent of photography. Today, photography is a legitimized category within art, and it is appropriated to its full extent by the culture industry. This media has allowed artists to explore image making in many contexts altogether. Digital photography combined with advanced printing technology changed the scenario of how artists perceived an image and how artists perceived image making, and it gave rise to dramatically new possibilities in representation. Generative artificial intelligence has the capability today to create content or data which resembles human-made content in images, music, text, code, etc. But there is always questions and doubts of how sentient it can be. Till now, we have negotiated with the world around us with an empirical understanding, that is, gathering experiences and building up memories. This, in turn, has shaped our identities, likes and dislikes, ideologies, political awareness, and contributed in creating communities, collectives, and societies. The bigger question would be, will the artificial intelligence be able to understand and reinterpret an individual's lived experience? Because the whole premise of AI is built and trained from large archives and humongous data sets. Its learning is limited to this data for the time being. But the interesting part here is the data sets will keep constantly expanding and AI will constantly keep learning. Practicing art in this context of a constantly evolving and exploring intelligence becomes challenging as well as very interesting. Art making will have to expand its horizons and constantly be updated with the changing times. This has happened in the past and will continue to happen in the future as well. When juxtaposed with the context of lived data versus living data, artists will have to now explore the intent behind meaning making in art with these changed scenarios. Knowledge today is accessible much more democratically than ever before. When the boundaries and the limits of our perception and learning is becoming thinner, one has to question what makes anything unique. This pondering will eventually lead us to recontextualize our concepts of the world. Will AI change our artistic sensibilities dramatically or make us rely more and more on technology-based creative outputs is a question which arises in this context. Because AI such as DALL-E, Bing Image Creator, and Midjourney, generating creative content in the context of art and the reach of this content to the masses has exponentially increased. This is also because from past 6 months, many of us artists are kind of experimenting with art production as a whole as to the processes involved. And the very interesting part, according to me, was the way in which we think and we interpret and we realize it as an imagery or a form, and how the artificial intelligence takes certain prompts and create images based on the data sets. That process is very interesting for us artists to realize and rethink, what exactly is our relevance today in context of art making. So it has definitely made a lot of background processes more simple, and because of its modest interaction through text to create an image, anyone with basic language skills can access and interact with its UI. There are some concerns about ownership, signature, intellectual property, which can be and is being addressed in these formative stages of AI. But as an artist, I wonder about the impact on mediatic shifts and generation of meaning in art in this context. I am thrilled to have been living in these interesting times where dramatic paradigm shifts are taking place one after the other. Generative AI will have a definitive impact in the times to come, where there will be a pragmatic change as well as collateral damage. We as a species have always evolved, adapted, and survived. In the same way, I feel that AI is one of the keystones which will enhance our experiences and our interactions with the world we live in today and tomorrow. I enthusiastically look forward to an enthralling prospects AI has to offer in my practice. I do sometimes reflect from my journey within to answer an existential question about who we are, where do we come from, and where are we going. So with this, I will end my talk. Thank you.
Art with a capital A. Art, design, creativity, identity, changing scenarios until we continuously evolving. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep, for that perspective. We have with us Dr. E.V. Ramana Reddy, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of IT/BT, Government of Karnataka, Additional Chief Secretary to Chief Minister and Additional Chief Secretary to Government, Department of Electronics, Information Technology, Biotechnology, and Science and Technology. I invite you to give your address, please.
Yeah, only small correction is I am no longer with the Chief Minister. Rest is okay. Good morning, everyone. Shri Vijay Krishnan Venkateshan, Dr. Gopichand Katrakata, Mr. Vishal Dupar, Mr. Pradeep, Mr. Ravindra, Mr. Thierry Berthelot, Consul General of France, Professor Devabrata Das, Director IIITB, Mr. Ramesh Ramadurai, MD 3M India, and friends. Today we are discussing two topics that have the potential to revolutionize how we create, manage, and utilize data and knowledge. generative AI and knowledge management. AI is rapidly improving and becoming an embedded feature in our various platforms. It is used in everything from data analytics and pattern recognition to automation and speech replication. Generative AI is in the midst of transforming the way companies operate, innovate, and work. ChatGPT is a proof point with over 100 million users within 6 months. Using generative AI, businesses can automate complex tasks, accelerate decision making, create high value insights, and unlock capabilities at scale that were previously impossible to imagine. According to Precedence Research, the global generative AI market size is valued as of now at 10.79 billion, is expected to hit around 118 billion by 2032, growing at the rate of 27% CAGR between 2023 and 2032. By effectively leveraging generative AI and knowledge management, organizations can enhance knowledge sharing, improve decision making, and foster innovation. The global generative AI market is dominated by players such as Microsoft, Adobe, Amazon Web Services, Google, IBM, etc. There are several Indian homegrown companies that are currently leveraging AI like Infosys, TCS, and Wipro. At the national level, India is expected to witness significant growth in AI. The central government, the federal government is cognizant of the emergence of these technologies and their rapid potential, and the government has published a national strategy for artificial intelligence with the objective of developing an ecosystem for the research and adoption of AI. As per NASSCOM data, the overall AI employment in India is about 4,16,000 professionals. The growth rate for sector is estimated to be around 20 to 25% from now onwards till 2035. According to Stanford AI Index Report 2023, Indian AI companies received US $3.24 billion in funding in 2022, securing the 5th spot among the countries that received the most investments in AI. Many of Karnataka's major startups are also using AI and machine learning to enhance aspects of their business operations. For instance, e-commerce giant Flipkart uses machine learning to define customer shopping experiences. Razorpay utilizes AI to combat payment frauds. EduTech startup Vedantu integrates AI into its live classes, making them more accessible and affordable. As far as the government of Karnataka is concerned, we recognize AI as a key enabler for growth of our digital economy, investments, and jobs. Bangalore, as you know, is one of the first cities in India to create a fairly significant pool of IT resources, thanks to many Indian major companies and also global MNCs for setting up their global capability centers in this city. This was eventually followed by the companies offering AI, analytics, data science services and solutions. Bangalore, the city, has emerged among the top 5 cities in the world for AI, according to a study by TIDE framework, TIDE framework, and listed by Harvard Business Review, HBR. Bangalore is said to be having the world's 2nd largest AI talent pool. Due to the conducive and thriving innovation ecosystem, Bangalore is home to about 1,000 plus startups in AI. Government of Karnataka has established centers of excellence in areas of emerging technologies like AI, machine learning, robotics, so on and so forth. I want to emphasize 2 key aspects regarding generative AI and knowledge management. One is future of work with generative AI. 2 is ethics of generative AI and knowledge management. The transformative potential of generative AI presents both opportunities and challenges. A challenge, however, lies in the potential impact on the workforce. As generative AI automates certain tasks, there may be concerns about job replacements. Experts argue that AI will change jobs already exist but not take away jobs. It would enhance them, giving people an opportunity to improve their skill sets and advance. But what we are supposed to do? I firmly believe that technological advancements would lead to the creation of new job opportunities, but it is important that we upskill our workforce to align with the changing demands of the digital age. By investing in continuous learning, reskilling and upskilling initiatives, we can empower our workforce to thrive in the era of generative AI. Rather than perceiving generative AI as a replacement, we should view it as a powerful tool that complements human skills and expertise. As we embrace the future work with generative AI, another important aspect is that we must also address the challenges it presents. Ethical AI involves conceptualizing, designing, developing and scaling AI solutions that consider aspects of responsibility, accountability, safety, privacy and trust. An ethical AI framework aims at eliminating discrimination, manipulation, exclusion and bias. At this digital age, where AI is rapidly evolving, it is crucial to address the ethical implications of these advancements to ensure responsible and accountable use of AI in our society. AI is definitely highly promising, but looks little scary. The Sam Altman, who is the founder of ChatGPT and who is the CEO of OpenAI, he himself has asked the governments to regulate the AI and generative AI. So this is, I think, first time that the inventor or founder of the technology himself has said that, okay, it is highly promising, but at the same time, you should be careful, you should regulate. In fact, 2 days back, I read in newspapers that during military operations, some simulator in US military, it's a simulator only, when the robo was asked to abort killing somebody, it killed the operator. So it's a simulation, but it looks very scary. So the use of generative AI, though it is still in early stages, its impact is definitely likely to grow, but at the same time we should use it in a very responsive way and responsible way. Conferences such as this will show us the way forward for generative AI to empower and foster knowledge management in organizations. Before I conclude, nothing to do with AI, but when Mr. Dupar has shown the 1980s or 70s computer, I remembered how the telecom revolution has progressed. When I came to Karnataka 3 decades back, I was first in Karwar. At that time, many of you may not know, youngsters, what is STD, what is trunk call. So at that time, certain cities had STD, subscriber trunk dialing. If that is there, you can put the STD code and dial anything in the world, any city in the world. If it is not there, you have to use a trunk call. You raise the phone, somebody will operator will come in line, and you say, Karwar, say, you give this number in Bangalore. So it used to take 3 to 6 hours to get a call from Karwar to Bangalore. Then STD came. Then now rapid dialing has come. With one button, we are so restless that with one button we want anything to be connected in anywhere in the world. 2G, 3G, everything has come. So the technology has really changed, really helped the society. But AI is one technology where I feel that it will definitely promising, definitely lead to a better future. But at the same time, we should be little careful and we should be responsible and responsive while dealing with AI. Thank you.
Yeah, generative AI will be part of our everyday lives now. Thank you, Dr. Ramana Reddy, for that wonderful address. I request Mr. Rabindra Srikantan, Deputy Chairman, CII Global Knowledge Summit 2023, to do the wrap up for the inaugural session. Oh, okay. Shall we do that? You take the questions?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. We have a couple of minutes. If anybody has questions, there is a mic, and if you can stand up and make it very brief, and also maybe introduce yourself, please. There's somebody at the far end.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Teja Murthy. I work in the field of safety. What happens is, are people applying artificial intelligence for the safety applications to plug the hazards arising out of the artificial intelligence. Is artificial intelligence being used to plug the issues that are being generated by the artificial intelligence?
Or open?
It's an open question, sir. The field of safety, like for example the COVID pandemic, despite of so many restrictions, it caused such a panic. So
Go ahead, Vishal.
it's a huge question.
Yeah, it is a huge question and it can take all the time that we spent here.
Thank you.
But very quickly to tell you, for example, if you look from a technology perspective, one area of maximum safety is the vehicle that we all use to move from one point to the other point. We've been all talking about autonomous vehicles. Someday we will have no steering, we'll sit in a car, even if you come from Marthahalli, you can still have a conference going on without really worrying about what's happening on the road. Now, if you look at from the perspective of car manufacturers, they would never ever speak to the technology people. And the reason behind that was because we never spoke the language of ISO 27272. And therefore, there used to be intermediaries called the Tier 1 OEMs who would translate what was needed. Today, the technology companies have learned that language and are talking to the OEMs directly. As an example, if you look at Mercedes-Benz, and this is a publicly announced thing, next year, when you'll have an autonomous vehicle coming, they're even sharing the subscription amount that you will pay to them with the technology company. That basically is a signature that people are talking about safety. So I've just used an example to explain to you it is getting applied. Gopi, if you want to give a little more inputs.
Sure, Vishal, thank you. I think part of the question is also the AI and generative AI, the dangers of that is AI being used to deal with that. Is that correct? Yeah. So if you look at how technology is progressing, there is a self-correcting mechanism embedded today. So as an example, if I use the word gypsy in my text to create an image of a person, it says that I'm not allowed to use the word gypsy because it looks at it as a word which is not safe for work, as an example. So the word gypsy is disallowed. Nudity is disallowed in image generation. Also, there is a significant effort to remove bias, gender bias, in the textual outputs. So there is significant effort which is being put in, but all new technology will have risks associated which will have to be mitigated by the humans. So no amount of technology can replace irresponsible human behavior. So hence we need to take some responsibility ourselves.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you, Gopi. Any other questions? Yeah, one there, please. Right behind you. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Christy Thomas. I come from the British Deputy High Commission in Bengaluru. So my question is open to everyone. It's just about the regulations in AI and ethical AI. It's being talked about very much recently. And for instance, the UK government has also come up with the AI watchdog and also, measures to regulate AI. So what do you think Indian businesses, will take if there is an AI regulation being set up in India? Thank you.
I'll just get started. Yeah. So as industry bodies, for example, as NASSCOM, we are. Yeah, as industry bodies, as example as NASSCOM, under the leadership of Debjani, we are providing guidance to the government on the aspects which would balance the ability of the industries to move forward, create jobs, create new technologies, as well as at the same time lead the world on ethical aspects and bring in aspects which are unique to India. Similarly, from CII, from multiple years for AI, we have been driving inputs to the governments. Luckily, for example, we have a very proactive state government. Again, from NASSCOM, we have a regulatory body which is chaired by Dr. Ramana Reddy. And again, there they take inputs, but also collate inputs from various other sources that they get and drive regulations in these areas. The good thing is that we do have the globe trying to make sure that we have the right regulations in place. At the same time, we need to ensure that we take the lead on aspects which are unique to India. The example would be there is a company by name Karya. This company does annotation for AI. And their ethical aspect which they're targeting is to pay several times, 20x the minimum wage for annotation. Otherwise, you can get taken advantage of in rural areas. So there are many dimensions to ethics of AI. I just gave one example.
Vishal, question in front. Right. Go ahead, Sandeep.
Good morning to all. I'm Sandeep Maini. As a person who's very much involved in art and creative art, and also on AI and engineering, I fully recognize what Pradeep spoke about. But my question to all of you to get a perspective is, as we see this technology moving, as we see generative AI coming in, are we also seeing a new evolvement of a new set of artists and a new set of customers for the artists? Because we are coming from a generation where we have seen personal art, we've seen creativity, we've seen everything, and now what we are seeing, I don't even know what we're going to see in the future. But are we also seeing the evolvement taking place in this new generation? Is there going to be a paradigm shift where tomorrow we have new forms of artists, new forms of art, and new forms of people who will recognize it? Love to have your perspective or anyone's perspective on it.
Yes, that's a very interesting question, because this also revolves around the way in which we can predict what might going to happen as well. So to answer your question, I will have to actually start with the way in which art is using AI right now. And that is in a way where, as I said in my talk as well, many of us have to rethink our relevance today. The whole idea of meaning making in art, we'll have to rethink the way in which it's happening. So also about when you asked, are there new people going to jump in, new kind of artists are going to come, new kind of art will be happening? Yes, definitely. Because I will give you a simple example of the way in which Midjourney works, right? It's simple prompts, and you'll get a very interesting image. And if you opt for a subscription way in which you will want to interact with it, it will give you unlimited ways of composing the same context in different imageries. So what is happening here is, it's not about the way in which it's doing it. It's about the variety which it gives out. So here, there is also another aspect of a layman using interesting keywords to generate an image. So this is very interesting here, because the knowledge domain of art and art practice was kind of in between art practitioners, designers, art historians, and the museum. But now that domain has been actually being injected with democracy. I mean, there is more democratization of things happening here. So I feel that we are looking at more interesting art practitioners coming in sometime very soon. And these art practitioners will be from us areas where we couldn't even have imagined that there might be such creative representations coming from those aspects. So this is something which is very interesting, which I myself am looking forward to in that sense.
Thank you, Pradeep. So in the interest of time, we will, you can continue your Q&A in the tea break right after this. I will very quickly thank everybody who's been here this morning. I'd like to thank our CI Chairman Vijay Venkatesan for making time and giving us our opening remarks, and given everybody's busy schedule. Dr. Gopichand Katragada, who gave us a very good perspective and what the rest of the day is going to be. And to all the other committee members of the Knowledge Committee who've done an amazing job under the leadership of Gopi. We had a very successful workshop 2 days ago with over 100 people. It was very good, hands-on. I think all of us learnt a lot. Personally, I learnt a lot in the workshop and from Gopi and the committee. It's been a good learning experience, and thank you so much. And then, of course, Vishal Dupar, who is a very good friend of mine, so for all the perspective and how things have progressed in the last 30 years. So we would also like to take this opportunity of working closely with NVIDIA from a CI perspective. We've been working in the past, we want to do more. And from an IT perspective and from a tech perspective, we'd like to do maybe some workshops at their labs and facilities where our members and many of you would like to get some hands-on experience on generative AI and similar areas. And to Pradeep, who gave us the perspective of where art and technology intersect, and the capital A of art. So that was very good. And last but not the least, Dr. Ramna Reddy, who has given us a government perspective of AI and continues to lead Karnataka's and Bangalore's dominance in the AI and in tech for the country. Thank you all very much. We have a short tea break, and we will assemble at 11:20 in about 10 minutes. Yeah? 11:35? At 11:35, please. Thank you.